Hello and welcome to the Dialogue Project podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
As often as I can, I rehearse what I'm going to say first.
Right, so grab a seat, doesn't matter which one you sit in.
Okay.
Hello. 10.
So, how we start this is by you saying your name
over and over
and then counting to 10.
I don't go, extreme with anyone, no.
Yeah.
But they just feel that I care.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Because I do.
I don't regret it.
Should I say my name first?
Yes, please.
Okay. 1.
You go to space, you look at the Earth and you cry.
If we didn't ask questions, then we wouldn't go on.
To change your personal options,
Listen to me.
10,
9,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
I find I'm saying things that I feel are quite magical, really.
It was a very beautiful thing because he let me wash his hair.
1.
My name is Carl James. There is so much I could say about this podcast and the conversation you're about to listen to, but I'm going to resist the temptation. If you want to find out more, you can look at the blog on understandingdifference.blogspot.co.uk. What I will say is that this is a conversation I will never forget having.
Some people might listen and think, I can't listen to that. But these things happen. And it is having a voice and being listened to.
Yeah, I think listening is a really important thing.
That is very, and there's not enough people listen. People think, I don't even go there because that's not very nice. But I think if I can try to think of the person, what they went through, then for them to listen, it should be so much easier.
Earlier this year, I got a phone call from a man named Colin.
So I'll shut the doors and leave you guys.
Yeah, all right, Colin. Thanks very much indeed.
And Colin had been listening to some of the other podcasts and thought that I would be interested to talk to someone that he knew.
So with the police, I've got a lifelong anonymity.
Yeah.
So I mustn't let anybody know who I am or whatever you say.
Okay, let's call her Celia.
And when she said, what name do you want? I just said Celia. I don't know where it come from.
All right. No.
So Celia's not her real name, but there are reasons why she can't use her real name.
I can't even say it as I can't, because I've now moved on and I'm training to be in which I wanted to put in, but I can't even put that in.
Really?
Because people could trace me from...
Yeah, okay.
So as you can tell, there are some things that Celia can't talk about. But as you're about to hear, there are lots of things that she could.
If there's anything you say that you don't want included, that's absolutely up to you.
Yeah.
Before we got stuck into the conversation, Celia wanted to know a little bit more about what I did.
Well, I don't really know much about you, only from what Colin said.
And why I was having the conversation.
I suppose what I'm interested in is the unheard voice. Do you know what I mean?
That's important.
It is to me, and because I think there's lots of people for lots of different reasons in life who don't get heard, and I'm very interested in helping people who aren't heard to be heard.
Yeah.
And then I suppose the other bit that goes with that is that I think there are some subjects in life that people find difficult to talk about, and that's okay. Some things perhaps are best not talked about, but people often say, well, there's a cost to having that conversation, and where I come from in my the way I think about it is that actually there's a cost very often to not having the conversation.
Exactly. Well, I've worked through mine with counsellors and personal developments, and I don't have any problem now talking about it. There's no problem. I think.
Before we start, I should issue a little warning that Celia's story is the story of a girl who wasn't loved by her mother or her father. Far from it. And Celia's story is the story of a woman who wasn't loved by her partner or some of the people she knew. Far from it. So if not being loved by people who ought to love you is a tender issue for you, then I want you to know that before you decide whether to listen or not. But honestly, I would like everyone I know to listen to this conversation, because for me, Celia's story ultimately is the story of someone who took everything that life could throw at her and refused to be beaten by it.
Very much indeed. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. See you, buddy. Yeah.
So here it is. Celia's story.
So where shall we start? I'm very interested in childhood and
Well,
how
that's
childhood affects.
That's where I'll start.
Well, go on then. You tell me, what was your childhood like?
My childhood, well, people say when you're a child you don't remember anything, but that is not strictly true. I can remember my childhood from as young as 3.5.
Really?
Yeah, my mum, she just couldn't stand me. I had 2 older siblings,
Brothers or sisters?
one of each,
Right.
who were quite a few years older than me. If they got treated bad, I don't know, because she was crafty, very careful, but I got treated absolutely awful. I'd get kicked and punched and thrown across the room, and I'd get called names which, well, you wouldn't even think of calling children these names. Not very nice at all.
And you remember that from a very young age?
Oh, I do, yeah. I remember that from sort of 3.5, because at 3 3/4, I can remember that very clearly, because at 3 3/4, I was sent to, a little nursery school, this was a lot of years ago, 58 years ago, in fact.
Okay.
And I used to think, oh, lovely, just a couple of hours, that'll be good, get away from her. Because it didn't really work out that way, you see, because I was a scrawny little child. She'd put me in clothes were either 3 sizes too big or 4 sizes too small, because I weren't worth anything decent. And food, well, I don't know what food was. Food. So very, very young age, I'd got off to a fine art. I'd wait till the mums, they'd take the little children to school in the morning, and they'd nip in and get them a few sweets and say, right, if you're good at school, you have it when you come home.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, this is the ideal chance. So while they were all there, there's me very, very short and then tall. I would just pinch whatever I could.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if that was edible or not, so I'd never seen it. And I used to do this for quite a few years.
But sorry for interrupting. But if you were, so you didn't get a regular meal in a day?
Oh no! Look, if I got anything to eat in a week, she'd often put a saucer in front of me with a bit of food on it, and my poor little mouth would be watering, and I think, oh, I can't wait for that. And then just as I'm going to eat it, that'd be whipped away. Oh, you don't deserve that today, little brat, and it'd go. I'm a young child and thinking, what? I didn't understand what is going on.
And why did she behave like that to you?
Well, it wasn't until, much, much later on in life I found out that her mother wasn't good to her.
Right.
So she carried it on with me. But I always said, we can all change if we want. We've all got the capacity to change, but she obviously couldn't.
And you had a brother and a sister, and that they didn't help you? They weren't any help to you?
No, my sister, oh my God, my sister left home maybe at an age of about 16. And we came across a letter much, much later on in the years which said she left home because her mother weren't any bloody good. So whether she got the same treatment, who knows? And even to this day, we don't know whether she's alive or dead or where she is.
You don't know where she is?
She just, it was on the evening news for quite a while. She just
took off,
disappeared into thin air.
And she was 16, and you were how old? What was the gap in age?
Oh my God, the age difference between myself and her would be 10 or 11 years.
Oh, okay.
So he said I'm 5, she'd be 16.
And your brother, he was older or younger than her?
He was 8 years older than me.
Right,
And
okay.
she was 3 years older than him. So I
Right.
think I was an accident, really, 8
Right.
years. I don't think I was kind of expected.
There is a missing figure in this conversation as well, wasn't it? Did you ever know your dad? Was your father around?
Oh, yeah, he was there. He lived there.
Oh, right,
But he was
okay.
terrified of her.
Okay.
God, I've often seen her chasing round the garden with a broom, threatening to kill him if she get hold of him. And he was petrified of her.
So he wasn't in a position to help you.
No, he
and
was
feed you.
petrified, you know, he must have known what went on, because I was such a scrawny little thing, and it was about 4 years old, maybe a bit older. I'd done one thing in the night, which children do. I wet the bed.
Yeah.
And of course it was dark, and I thought, oh God, whatever's going on. I called for her. Well, that was one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life. She put the light on, and she was spitting chips because I woke her up. Dragged me out of bed, grabbed hold of my hair. In those days I had lovely blondish curly hair, natural, and she dragged me out of bed, put her knees behind my little knees, and she shoved my head in the shower because I had a really old-fashioned bed and it had a dip in it, so of course it laid there.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to drown, choke, suffocate. And she made it quite clear if I did it again, I know what I'd get. But every time she'd step up more. So of course every night I wet the bed again because
you were
I was scared.
terrified, of course.
But because I daren't tell her, so I'd lie in all night in this wet bed. Another thing is she would never wash me, dress me. She'd never do that, you see. Well, I was very tiny and I couldn't reach the sink anyway, but I daren't. If I'd have touched that sink, I'd have probably got a one-way ticket to Yarmouth Beach. She'd have killed me.
To try and wash?
Yeah, she'd have killed me.
So you weren't allowed to wash?
No. Oh, my, you know, she was just a mother from hell. So
but you were, so around the age of 5, you were going to school? Were you going to school?
I only went to school for a very, very short period of a few weeks because the kids would bully me at school because I was dirty, filthy, scrawny, and I smelt of urine, so I'd get called, you know, wee the bed and wet the bed and smelly. And the kids at school would bully me, and I'd get in their little groups and they'd push me from one end to one group and they'd push me back. And so I thought, well, whatever's going on, you know, I'm getting it at home, I'm coming here, I'm getting it here. I thought, I just don't know what's going on. So I kept going for a while, and then I stopped. I thought I couldn't handle it. I was in I just didn't understand at all. So that's when I used to leave the house in the morning.
As if to go to school. Yeah.
Go to the shop where these mums were, pinch whatever I could, and I'd go to the local woods and I'd get my little hideaway there all day.
You made a little place for yourself.
Yeah, and I'd eat whatever was edible, and I'd be sharing my little place with the birds and the little mice running about, and I'd hear the children come home at night. So
you'd stay there all day on your own?
Yeah, very lonely, horrible existence. But that was better than getting
bullied and
treatment at school, you see.
Abused at school. What was this little place like? You talked about a hidey. Was it one place, or did you go to different places?
No, it was always the same place. Little woods, and I'd found that there was a big, obviously a tree that had been cut, and the big trunk had fell down, and around it was surrounded by bushes, and I managed to, if I sat on the end, I could get under the bushes for a bit of shelter.
Okay.
And that was like my little secret hideaway, where I'd leave my books every night and I'd pinch pencils and try to colour.
So how did you learn to read? How did you learn to do all the normal things that kids would do?
Well, when I used to go to the shop and pinch food, I'd always pinch little books, which I just thought, well, I'll see what these are like. And I kind of learned myself to read like the ah and the bur and the sir, and kind of tried to put it all together.
And you'd be on your own?
Yeah. All winter, spring, summer, on my own.
Teaching yourself?
Yeah. My sanctuary.
Your sanctuary.
And one night I went home and I said, I had a good day, Mum. Well, I'd get a right thack. What the hell's that got to do with you? So another time I wouldn't say anything. And I'd still get a thack. Don't you care what I've been doing today? I've been washing, scrubbing, cleaning, cooking for you, and you care. And the fatal mistake, I said, well, you don't cook for me, Mum, so I don't get anything. Well, she got me and threw me across that room, and I hit my little side on a chair. I was like, no, I'm not crying, because if I cry, I'd get another one. I'll give you something to cry about. And I'd really be sort of trying to hold my breath. And I'd wait until I went up to my little bedroom and then I'd cry. And that's hard when you're that young to understand why is she doing this. But she really just did not like me whatsoever.
Was there anyone at all that you could talk to? There was no one. It doesn't sound like you had any friends particularly. Was
no, well, you see, where we lived, I've heard people talk about, my mum is the old witch.
Right.
And they kept away from the whole family. And those days, what went on between four walls stayed there. No one interfered those days. That
wasn't how you did it.
No, they didn't interfere, you see. So
she wasn't worried about being found out about hurting you or not feeding you or not letting you wash.
She would just put it down to me being clumsy or an awkward child. I mean, my dad had come home at night for his tea and he'd ask me if I'd had mine. And of course I'd say, yeah, I've had mine, and she'd say, yep, she's had enough, this is your time now. But I thought, I ain't had anything. And he'd have his tea, sit down, watch TV, and one night I thought, I'm going to climb on his lap for a cuddle. Well, that wasn't a good idea. The next day, she gave me such a pasting.
Was she in the room when that happened?
Yeah, when your father come on, we don't want to be bothered by you scrawny little git. Leave him alone. And of course, I dare never go near him for a cuddle again.
And you continued not to go to school?
Well, it kind of, when I was about 11, I did, I was up in a bigger school, and I thought, well, I will give it another go. Of course, the teacher was quite surprised to see me because I hadn't been for 6 years.
Yeah.
And again, I was still scrawny, scruffy, dirty, smelly. One day that was really hot summer's day. Really, really hot. As I'm coming home, I think one of the mums took a bit of pity on me. She said, do you want to come back to ours and we'll get you a cold drink? And I said, oh yeah, that'd be lovely. Because took me back with a little girl, and it's not a girl I was friendly with, but I think she felt sorry for me. So we got indoors and just gave her a little girl a drink and said to me, what would I like? And she reeled off all these flavours. I don't know what you're talking about. I won't say anything I'll do because I like it all. And she gave me this red stuff, which I gather now was cherry aid or something.
Right.
And she said, I'll put ice cubes in it. I thought, ice cubes? Whatever. Ice cubes? And so I put these little blocks in, and then she said, well, do you want a bag of crisps? What flavour? And again, I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't never seen crisps. What are crisps? And she gave her little girl a bag, and she started eating. So I'll have the same. And they tasted so good. I don't know what flavour I got. And my first instance was I wanted to open this bag and just grab them and shove them in my mouth at once. But I thought, no, I'll eat them one at a time.
Even though you were so
starving to savour the flavour, but I didn't want her to know that I was starving.
It's interesting, you had your pride, didn't you? Through all
yes,
of this?
I did. Yeah, I did. I always kept my pride, and I always said as a child, I will never ever grow up like she did. When I was about 11, the normal thing is all females get, I started my periods at 11 and I was at school one day and went to the toilet and I went crying to the teacher, I'm bleeding, I'm dying, whatever's gone wrong.
Because you had no idea what was going on.
No idea. So she helped me get sorted out and, and she sat me on her lap and explained what was happening.
Right.
Written on a piece of paper. She said, take this home to your mum and tell her this is what you need. So I went home and told my mum what had happened. Oh my gosh, I got another thump. What do you think you're effing well doing? Telling teachers this. Don't you think I care for you? I said, well, do you? Anyway, she said, right, drag me to this cupboard which had all bits and pieces in it. Threw me a towel. Cut that up and use that. So that was that. I had to cut this towel up and use that and in the bin, and I thought, so again I'd go to school even more stinkier and smellier.
And still, so this is, you're describing a girl becoming the beginnings of a young woman.
Yeah.
But were you washing by this stage? Were you allowed to wash?
No, I still wasn't washing. I was still dirty. I was still smelly. I used to try and get to the sink and have a quick wash as much as I could, but as soon as I heard her coming, I'd have to run because she'd have killed me. I wasn't good enough for soap and water. That's only for good people. I wasn't a good person. I was just a smelly, scrawny little person who she didn't really want in her life, but I was her responsibility. But as far as she was concerned, she didn't want to know me. Then I grew up into a thug, you see. My mum hit me, so I thought, well, perhaps that's normal. So if anyone come near me, I would hit them. I thought, well, if they get near me, they'll probably hurt me like she did. So if I hit them, they'll go away.
Yeah.
So if someone had come up to me and be nasty, well, I'd retaliate and thump them.
Yeah.
Right in the nose, and if that didn't work, I'd do it again. So I grew up into a rather an awful bully.
Yeah. So you became a violent.
Yeah, I did.
Girl.
Yeah, so people would see me come and they'd cross over the road and I'd get called names like, we come up psycho and all these things. But I think little did they know underneath, I was perhaps longing for their friendship, but I was scared in case they hurt me. So it was best to keep them away.
And in your head at this time, what was going on? Were you aware that? Did you realise how different you were to other kids?
I realised I was very different because these children, their mums would take them to school, and when they come out at night, they'd run up to their mums and she'd pick them up and cuddle them, and they were so clean and prestige and had their little lunch boxes with food, and I'd have nothing, and I thought, yeah, I'm very, very different to these children. They got mums and dads that love them.
Yeah.
And I think my dad loved me, but he just didn't stop it. I think he was just scared. He's not really much better because he's
letting it happen.
Yeah, and he could see that I was so skinny and frail and pale. But he never questioned it because he knew he'd probably get a thump as well. So in a way, I classed him as being no better than her, really, because he allowed it to go on. Well, a normal dad would stand up to her.
Yeah, and stand up for his children as well.
Yeah, no, but not my dad. No, he kept well out the way.
So you became an aggressive young person.
I did, and I kept up that.
You got into trouble, I presume, by being aggressive, did you? Or?
Well, actually, that's the thing. I never actually really got caught. I can remember about the age of going up now. It's about the age of 16. I went out one night and had a few sort of drinks because I was wild. And as I came out in this pub, the police sat outside, and I pinched his hat and threw it away. As he went to run after me, I pulled the door handle up so I caught his fingers in. I ran like hell. I got away with it. when I look back now, I'm quite horrified at these things I did. They were awful.
What other kind of things did you do?
Oh, well, the amount of people's noses I've broke, because I've hit once in the nose and that's not worked, so I've done it again, and then the nose pull, and I think, yes, I've got you. I felt proud. Because I'd hurt them. I thought, now what I go through every day. Yeah. But it wasn't their fault.
You were having pain inflicted on you, so you wanted to inflict it on others.
And it wasn't their fault.
No.
It was not their fault whatsoever. And I thought, well, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?
Were you conscious of being angry about your mum, or was it not like what were you?
Yeah, I was very conscious of being angry. I mean, when I sort of got to the 15, 16, all I wanted to do was kill her. I thought, I'll kill her.
Because she was still behaving the same, even as you were developing.
Oh my God, this went on for lots of years, even as I got much older.
So you wanted to do something. You wanted to take her out of your life. Yeah,
I did, but I thought, well, if I killed her, I'd probably get in prison for the rest of my life, and she's not worth it. But yeah, this sort of feud between us went on for, oh God, lots of years, really, until the day she died. Then I got to sort of 16 years old, and opposite me there was this guy in the garden. He was, I think, perhaps about 2 or 3 years older than me. Lovely hot day, didn't have a shirt on, and I looked at him and I thought, well, I like you, just not that I knew what love was at that age, but he kind of sort of done something for me. I went home and started talking to him, and sometimes we'd go out for a walk, and then things got into a bit of a relationship, and I thought, and he did love me, but I think, when I look back now, I think, do I know really what love was, or was I looking for something what I'd never had? Yeah. A couple of years, things were great between us.
So you finally had somebody who did. Yeah. Did he care about you?
He cared about me. He'd take me out for meals. He'd buy me things.
Oh my God!
And that was really good.
That must have been extraordinary to have somebody.
It was. I thought, oh, is this what my life should have really been like with my mum? So kind of make me think, now, do I really love this guy, or am I looking for something I've never had?
Okay, yeah.
Well, when I was 18, of course, the inevitable happened, and I got pregnant. Right. So I told this guy. He said, no, I'm not ready for any children yet. You'll have to choose me or the baby. Of course, I loved him that much. I went in hospital, got it terminated, and that really screwed my head up for quite a while. I thought, God, this little baby, and even the way I'd been treated and the way I was acting as a thug, I still had these feelings. But I thought, well, I've still got him. But then he turned into a monster. Complete monster. Never knocked me about, but he used to rape me 2-3 times a week, every week. And he used to tell me the only way he's done that is because I've gone off him and I've got someone else. And I thought, this isn't the person I know. Alright, I got to 22, and of course I got pregnant again. And I said to him, look, this is it. I'm keeping these babies. If you want to go, you go. But one night I was in terrible pain. I called a doctor in, and I miscarried. And it was actually twins. And I thought, well, serve you right. That's what you get for getting rid of the first one. You're being paid back. Anyway, still kept my life. Couldn't get rid of him. He wouldn't go. I was like his prize, and he wouldn't go. So
you didn't consider just walking away from him? It wasn't possible?
I tried several times, but he'd always find me. He had so many friends and people in where we lived, or even in the place we lived. They thought he was wonderful. He was marvellous, but they didn't know the other side to him. And so the raping went on 2-3 times a week, every week for, 16 when I met him, right up until I was 50. That went on for all that long time.
Till you were 50?
Yeah. And I began to think, the way my mum treated me, and then the way he treated me, it made me think, is this what females are about? Is this what we're made for? Are we made for being ill-treated? Because not having a loving mother, I didn't have a clue. You know, even later on in life, I was still so green, and I didn't know much at all, so I'd never had the teaching.
But as you grew up and became a woman, did you not create friendships with other women? No, even then I didn't, no, because I still wouldn't let people... I let him close and I let my guard down with him, but I still didn't want people in my life, because I was still so terrified. My mum should have loved me, but she didn't. And I thought he loved me, but he didn't, and I thought, no, I can't have this happen anymore. So you kind of isolated yourself in a way to protect yourself? To protect
myself. So I thought, if I don't let people near, then they can't hurt me, can they? Yeah. So I was always a very subdued person, and you know, even at 30, I was still maybe like 13 in my head.
Yeah.
But I did get jobs, and while I was at work, I was like a normal person.
You would talk to people, you would swap stories about...
As soon as I'd never swap stories about anything now.
You wouldn't?
I would just do my work properly.
You would keep your life away, private from anybody else.
But then as soon as I came away from work, I went back to this 30-year-old, come 13-year-old. By this time, I'm very meticulous about keeping myself clean.
Yeah, okay. So that at some point you'd been allowed to do that?
Yeah, because the first time I ever had a bath at home, this was when I was about 14.
Right.
Yeah. It was at the time, the end part of school life, when I did start to go. I had one pair of shoes and they were black. Well, they had more holes than shoes.
Right.
But I'd seen my dad polish his shoes. So I thought, I went on one lunchtime, I thought I'll polish these. But to get the polish was right high up. So I pulled a chair from the front room, stood on it, went to get this polish, and she clocked me. While she pulled me off this chair faster than I've known anything in my life. Well, then I snapped. I got back on this chair, got hold of her, got her up against the wall, and I was strangling her, and her lips were then going blue. I thought, no, this isn't right, is it? This isn't right. This is not going to solve anything, is it? Anyway, I let her go. But before I got back to school, she'd been there and told the headmistress that I'd hit her. So of course I got the old cane in those days.
She got the school to punish you for attacking her.
But then, that day she backed off. She backed off.
Did she?
Yeah.
So so because you were now, I suppose, a bigger physical...
I could stand up to her.
Yeah. Okay.
So that day, I went in the bath. First bath I'd ever had. She left me to it. But I had to take a knife in there with me to scrape the dirt off my arms and legs. It was on that thick.
Really?
Yeah, and I had to change that water. God, I lost count of how many times I changed that water and filled it up again. Lovely bubble bath. But my legs were red raw in the end.
You scraped off the dirt off
your body. I didn't care them being red raw. That felt so good to be clean and have my hair washed.
Yeah, that must have been an extraordinary moment.
It was amazing. But she backed off with hitting me then. But you know, up until the day she died, I still got the abuse and things.
The verbal abuse.
Yeah, but I thought, well, at least she's not hitting me.
And so your self-esteem, which was obviously
very low,
very low,
very, very low, yeah.
And you took that into that relationship with the guy.
Yeah.
And did you ever have any children? Did you keep any
No,
children? You never had kids?
no. After that second time, I went to the doctors and got put on this injection. So,
Right, okay.
and after that, I kind of thought, no, I don't want any. It kind of put me off altogether, because although I know I would never have hurt a child, there's always that niggling thing in my head. Would I snap? So I thought, no, rather than go through that. So no, I never had any.
Do you regret that at all now?
No, I don't one
Okay.
bit. No,
good.
I don't regret it a bit.
Right.
I've got not one single regret in my life, which is good in a way, because I sort of wondered would I regret it, but no, I don't.
So how did this relationship eventually end?
Right. Well, this is another thing. You see, when I was 35, there was another bloke I knew. There was nothing going on between us. I just knew him as a friend. When I was 35, I'd only known this guy for sort of just over 15 years.
Right.
He started to stalk me. I'd go to a local shop and I could see him hiding behind a wall. And
he knew you were in a relationship with the other guy?
Yeah, but I didn't seem to bother him.
Right.
So he, when the other guy was at work, he started to come round and he started to abuse me 3 times a week, every week. He eventually raped me and he attempted to rape me. And this went on for 15 years. But he done it when the other guy was at work.
Right.
And I never told my partner I was with, because I would have gone nuts. But, oh God, I know I was about 48. I went to my doctor and she got me onto a counsellor because I was very, very severely depressed and anxious. And I went to see a counsellor and she said, look, you're going to have to tell him what's going on. So it took me a long while to pluck the courage up. And when I did, he went mad. That's why you don't want to touch me, because you got someone else screwing you. And with that, he packed his bags. Off he went. Never see him anymore. I thought, well, if that was that easy, I should have done it years ago. But I know, I look back on that now, and it seemed like another world, and I don't know how I got through it, but I did.
When you say you have no regrets, we all make choices in our life, don't we?
Yeah.
And, some of them are better than others. But do you not wish that you'd spoken up earlier?
I do, yeah. I do now. I wish I'd spoken up a lot earlier.
And what stopped you? Was it just that you thought...
Well, I was scared of him. In the end, I got scared of him because, as I said, the first couple of years was lovely. He was kind, caring, attentive. But then he turned into this monster. I know he never physically hit me, but, he has pinned me up against the wall a few times with his hands around my throat. And I was scared, I think. Scared for my life. And I still didn't think that what he was doing maybe was wrong, because the way my head was programmed, I thought, well, this must be what women are for. You're born and your mum treat you bad, then you get this from men. Are we meant to be a sex toy? That's how vague I was. I was very vague. And
I suppose there was no one else to tell you any different. There was no one else to say it doesn't have to be like
Exactly, because
this.
I was still knocking people about at that age and hitting them to keep them away.
So when did you realise that it didn't have to be like this?
Well, I went to my doctor, and she said that I was severely depressed and anxious. Went to a counsellor. That didn't really work out because the counsellor weren't right with me. So I went back to the doctor and started to see a mental health nurse.
Right.
Who was a postgraduate student born with a silver spoon in her mouth.
Right.
No good whatsoever.
And why wasn't the counsellor good for you?
Well, she kind of, because, this person that kept raping me, not my partner, but the person kept raping me, I let him in. And she said, well, it's your bloody fault, you're giving him a green light.
The counsellor said that to you?
Yeah. And I thought, this ain't right, is it?
Okay.
So, yeah, I know. So, of course, I stopped that and saw this mental health nurse. There still weren't a lot of good. But eventually, after I took an overdose, which, thank the Lord, it didn't work, and I didn't want it to work. That was a cry for help.
Okay. And when was that? So
by then I'd have been 52.
Okay. So
52. And she got me on these lovely some personal development classes like anxiety management, confidence building, self-esteem, anxiety management.
Yeah.
With a lovely lady who went the extra mile with me. Really good. And there was lots of laughter, lots of tears, but she never gave up. And when I first went to see her, I told her I didn't know if I was an adult in a child's body or if I was still a child in an adult's body. That's how messed up I was. Completely messed up.
And what did she do that made a difference for you?
Well, I mean, she'd give us exercises to do and like lots of things like drawing. She'd ask us to draw something on how we felt, and I couldn't do it because I'd only ever done one drawing at home for my mum, and she'd ripped it up and put it in the bin. Oh, I don't want to look at that. It's bad enough looking at you. And there was lots of things I couldn't do because of past experiences with my mum. But she kind of coaxed me and put it in a different way. You know, like she drew a heart for me once. Said, just write words. And she went like this step by step, which was...
What was that like for you?
Oh, it was amazing. I was only once a week, 2 hours once a week, and I thought, I can't wait for next week to come. And she'd give us stuff to take away to do, and I'd religiously do it. And I thought, this is what life is about, is it? And by doing them in, let me get this right, 2011, I finally got the courage to report this. Not my partner, but the second one. I thought I'll get him out of the way first, and I reported him for what he was doing, and didn't have any proof, obviously, because he was so careful. But that all went to court, and he got 6 years in prison. I thought, great, that's right. Oh, I thought it was lovely.
But what a massive thing for you to do.
It was massive, and it was massive, and
that was you standing up for yourself and not being frightened anymore.
And it went right till the last day, and he pleaded guilty, so I didn't have to go to court.
Did he?
And he's still actually in prison as to this day.
Right.
So I thought, right, I've got him. Now I didn't have a clue where my ex-partner was, but I thought, right, it's his turn now. I'll go for him.
Okay.
But came home from work one day, and there's a couple of friends at the door, and I said, what are you doing here? They just come to inform me that he'd been found dead that morning in his house. He hung himself. I thought, you bastard, you took the easy way out. Sorry about that. Just how I felt. That's the first thing I said. I thought, I took the easy way out. He hung himself in his kitchen. And then I found out that I wasn't the only one going through the rapes and the abuses with him. He was around several different people. Yeah, and I've gone back to my mum, you see. I lived in the flat with her.
As an adult?
Yeah. In, let me think, 1999, we moved in this flat, and I moved in with her. I thought, there's no way she can look after herself.
So even after all the years of abuse,
exactly,
you said you would look after her?
We'd been in the house 6 months, and she was a bit poorly, and one night she was sick, and a load of blood come up and out both ends. I got the doctor in, and he got her straight to hospital. She had 2 duodenal ulcers which burst, which we never knew she had.
Goodness.
And the surgeon said, well, I'll operate on her, but don't give her much hope because she's so weak, she's lost a lot of blood.
How old was she by this time? Roughly.
79.
Late 70s,
yeah.
Okay. Right.
I said, don't worry, she'll come through. I said, she ain't finished with me yet, she'll come through. Anyway, she had this operation. She was in the high dependency unit quite a while, and then went in the hospital. And he said to me one day, the surgeon, can't make it out. She's ready to go home. As I told her she would. I went to visit her one day, and she said, oh, Celia, let me come home. Please let me come home. I won't be any trouble. So I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to have a home and I'm going to look after her because I want to prove to me that I'm different to her. So I took her home.
Goodness me.
She was hard work to look after. You know, she had me up 8 times a night to go to the toilet, but she didn't want to do anything, and she was the most awkward woman I've ever met in my life. You know, I had to do everything for her. Wash, cook, clean, put her on the toilet, get her off, get her meals. You know, give her a meal. Do you want anything else, Mum? No, I'm fine now. Sit and eat yours. I'd sit down. Oh, I'll have some salt, please. Oh, you woman, don't be. Anyway, yeah, I looked after her. I thought, well, at least I've proved that I'm different to her. And I'm never going to be like her. And then one morning, it was New Year's Eve. Got her up, and we were talking. And I said, well, I'll just go to the toilet and I'll get you washed and dressed. And she said, yeah, that's okay, we got plenty of time. And I said, can you just tell me one thing, Mum? Why did you do all that awful stuff to me as a child? Why did you do it? And her answer...
What made you ask? Can I just...
Well, I just want some answers. I thought, I want answers now. Yeah, she's avoided it all the while, but, you know, even when she was in hospital, I still got digs. You know, like the fact some of the other family would come up and she'd say, oh, can you do my washing for me? I don't ask her because she'll moan, her being me. And I thought, no, I want answers. And she said, oh, let's not talk about that now. When they moving forward or in the future. So I went in the toilet and I heard this awful noise, and I thought, oh, whatever crap she got on TV now, because she was like that. But something made me stay in that toilet. And all of a sudden I thought, don't know, I need to get out there. And she'd slumped over the settee and died. Aneurysm. Dead in 30 seconds. And I thought, God, what a cop out now. What a cop out. And again, I got on the floor and I tried the resuscitation, got the ambulance in, but that was an instant death. And yes, I did cry that day.
Did you?
But not because she was dead.
What was it about then?
I thought, well, she can't hurt me anymore. And I thought, well, whatever was all this life about?
So how long ago is this then?
2000. That's 2000 she died.
Right. So this is before all the stuff when you took the guys to court and all that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that was the turning. Once your mum was gone.
Yeah. Then I thought, right, she's gone. Now I need to start on the others. And by doing all these personal development classes, that gave me the strength to think, no, this is because then I'd learnt that, you know, I'd learnt through the personal development tutor that what I went through as a child was wrong. And all the sexual assaults and the rape, that was all wrong. And yeah, that gave me the strength to think, right, they need to pay for what they did. And when I got the first result and he went to court and then to prison for 6 years, I felt so good. And step by step my confidence was coming up, my self-esteem was coming up.
Did you open up socially? Did you
yes,
begin
I
to
did.
make friends?
Yeah, I did, and lots of people.
Do you have friends now?
Oh gosh, I got so many. Well, they're not like friends. They're like my family. They're better to me than my family. Yeah, I got such a huge network.
Really?
I joined a church, and I do lots of things to help people in lots of other different ways because I've been there and I got the T-shirts. And my life now it's so good. And I think, well, you know, what I'm now telling you about seems like a lifetime ago.
Does it feel like you, though, that you're telling the story about?
No, it doesn't. I often think about that. I think, my word, that seemed like another person I'm talking about. Was I really capable of things like that? I think, well, yeah, I was. But that really wasn't me. That was this person I'd been made into by being treated by this different people. And I've moved on so much. And what happened to me is, well, it seemed like a lifetime away. And I don't even think about it now because I ain't got time. I'm too busy enjoying life. I haven't got time to think about anything else.
That's amazing. Dear.
And I've always wanted the chance to speak out.
Yeah.
You know, but it's nice. People should know what goes on. You know, people don't realise, you know, that, you know, when I first started to tell people, they'd say, no, that sort of thing don't happen. Your mum don't do that. Or so you didn't know my mum, did you? Because it does, and it did.
But you must have, you know, as you become part of a network of people and friends, and found some, just some normal life.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like your smile when you say that you're too busy to see enough of your friends. It's great. But when you're abused in that way, you know, and it's interesting, you know, there's so much stuff around, isn't there, about sexual abuse of children at the moment.
Yes.
You haven't mentioned being sexually abused as a kid.
No.
It wasn't that kind of abuse.
No, it was a mental and physical.
Yeah.
As a child,
But it was abuse.
Yeah, it was. It was. You know, when you talk about, because we've done a course as well on bereavement. Well, when people talk about bereavement, they think bereavement is when, you know, you've lost someone through death.
Yeah.
But in my case, it wasn't. It was bereavement because I never had any toys. It was loss of toys, loss of fun, loss of cleanliness. You know, all those things are still a kind of bereavement, but in a different way.
Yeah, how
it's
interesting.
It's not always about the loss of a life.
I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah,
before.
I mean,
Very
you know, I had no
interesting.
toys, so that was a loss of toys, loss of fun,
Sure.
loss of games, loss of friendships with other children, lots of missing out on lots of life at school.
Yeah.
So it can go for, it's a big subject, bereavement, not always about death.
No.
I've lost that one so much.
So there you were, losing out on all of these things and kind of being aware of it. I suppose what's hardest for me to believe, not that I don't believe you, of course I believe you, but what's hardest for me to get straight in my head is that you were so scared that you couldn't tell anybody.
Yeah, I was, because I always thought if I tell anyone, no one will believe me because I was a child. I mean, I didn't want credibility if I got as a child to go saying, oh, my mum has thumped me and hitting me and shoved my head in your eye and not feeding me. People would have thought, oh, she's just a child, you know.
And if you could go back to that girl, whether it's the 5-year-old, you know, or the 11-year-old or the 16-year-old, is there anything that you would say to her now that she didn't know? You know, what do you know what I mean? What do you, not saying that you should have done anything different, of course not, because you were too frightened to do anything. You didn't think you deserved to do anything.
Yeah.
But what would you say to that little girl now?
God, well, you know, what I'm always telling people now, never ever keep anything in. If you tell someone something and they don't believe you, just keep going back and pestering and run to another adult. Just don't keep it in. Go to the police station and keep going back, but don't let it drop. Just keep on at people until they do believe you and do something.
But I suppose, but like you know, there will be children that are being abused now. I shouldn't imagine that many of them will hear this conversation. But what about that fear? Because the thing, you know, if you say to a child, go and talk to an adult, talk to a policeman, but if they're too frightened
To think, if
how can you help a child who's too frightened?
if anybody had said that to me, go to the police.
Yeah,
or
what would you have said?
I'd have been too scared.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done, because, you know, to get back to her, well, I don't know if I'd have got hiding that hard. I'd probably been killed or something. And I just wanted to keep living, to keep breathing.
Yeah.
And when I look back on it now, I really, you know, feel I should have gone to another parent and or a teacher and kept saying, look, my mummy's hurting me, she's not feeding me, and look, you can see how dirty and scrawny I am, isn't that telling you something? And they must have you know, the odd times I did go to school, they knew I was different, but nobody interfered, and I never said anything. I just kept on and on and on, and I think, well, here I am today, enjoying life, looking back on that as if that was another world and another person.
But it's not, is it?
It's
This woman who's sitting in front of me
Yeah.
with her arm in her
and I think I've lived to tell the tale. I wouldn't hurt a fly. I do whatever I can to help people that are maybe being in this position. And
what do you have? The fact that you've had these, you know, really intense, appalling experiences. How does that help you to help other people now?
Well, because I've got the empathy. I've got lots of empathy, and it doesn't matter what anybody tells me, it won't shock me, because the chances are I've been there.
Yeah.
I listen. I let people talk. I let them get out the system. They cry. I hug them. And that's probably maybe one of the first hugs they've ever had. And these days, I hug everyone. And can be a bit of a joker to make people laugh.
You're enjoying your life, aren't you?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And how old are you now, do you mind me asking?
58.
58.
And I love it. I've got friends, well, they're like my family now. I've got so many friends who I love them to bits, and they love me for who I am, and they know my past life, and that doesn't bother them, because it's me they're concentrating on.
Yeah.
No, not what happened years ago.
And do you think that having had that upbringing and that, you know, tough, I was going to say start to your life, but you know, here you are, you're 58 now, and it was all the way up till 50. Let's hope you live to 100. Let's say
going to.
Yes, let's say
yes.
the first half of your life wasn't great, but
No.
the second half is fantastic.
Oh, that's going to be fabulous.
But do you think you appreciate things in life that you wouldn't do if you?
I appreciate everything. I mean, my friends, I love them to bits, and I appreciate their friendship every time I see them. And yeah, I do just appreciate that fresh air and food. I mean, I did go through a phase where I had an eating disorder. I was classed as a binge eater.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. When you saw it, you must have gone for it like
and you
crazy.
know, I'd go to bed sometimes at night, and I'd empty the fridge, put it on bed and eat it until I felt sick, because it was there. But I've got over that now, and I eat sensibly. But I know if I need it, it's there. And I've always got chocolate and crisps and biscuits indoors. Not that I really like them. I end up giving them to the children around my way, because they sort of call me Auntie now, because I've always got sweets and biscuits.
Okay.
But it's there, and that's like a safety barrier. But I do appreciate. In a bath or shower.
Yeah.
Oh, I thank my lucky stars every morning. Yeah. I have a shower for that water. But I still I can't swim. I'm still scared of water, because my mum shoving my head in that urine. Even when I'm in the shower, if the water runs down my face, oh God, I panic. I have to get the towel out quick and wipe it out.
Okay.
So to be able to learn to swim absolutely terrifies me, to get that water in my face. But it's not too old yet.
You're not
Could
too old
tackle
yet.
it one day.
I was going to say, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a funny question to ask in a way, but
go for it.
Yeah, I will. Have you forgiven your mum?
Yes, I've forgiven my mum. I've forgiven the ex-partner. I've forgiven the person who I thought was a friend. And when the other one come out of prison shortly, I hope he gets on to a normal kind of life. You know, not that I like him.
No.
I never want to see them. But yeah, I've forgiven them, because if you don't forgive these people, they've still got the power over you. I've forgiven them, so I've took all the power back, and they've got nothing. Nothing whatsoever.
That's an amazing thing
And
to
that
say.
makes me feel good.
So forgiveness has given you back the power.
Yeah. While I had it in my head that I still didn't forgive him, it's like a cancer and it gnaws away at you. It's gnawing away. Once I forgave him, it's like the world that's gone off your shoulders. It's gone. And of course I've joined a church, and that's helped me so much, my faith.
Yeah.
You know, it's helped me so much.
Is that something you discovered from recently, or is that something?
2008.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's helped me so much. And my friends that go there with the faith. Yeah, and that helps me a lot as well. To know to forgive, and then I move on. Yeah, that's an amazing thing. You know, people talk about faith as if you're crazy, but that's helped me so much.
It has.
Yeah, I feel like I've got another person on my side now. That big man up there.
Well, but he wasn't around when you were little, was he?
No, he wasn't, and I try to tell people this, and I never really know which way to put it, and people think I am really balmy. But what happened to me as a child and with the other abuse was not nice. I would not wish that on anyone. But in a way, what happened to me, I think, well, that happened to me for a reason. And perhaps one of the reasons is it's made me stronger than the person I am today. If it hadn't have happened, who would I have been? Could have been in a loveless marriage with loads of kids. But it's made me who I am, and it's made me stronger. Not that I want anyone to go through it.
No, I understand.
But it happened, and best I can do is forgive everyone and get on with my life. And that's what I'm doing.
Well, thank you very, very much for sharing your thoughts with me.
That's been good, actually.
What's it been like to talk about it to me?
Well, it's actually been good to be able to get it out. I was sitting opposite you and getting Celia's life out, and having someone who has listened to it and asked questions and participated in it. And in the end, it feels good, because the more you talk, there's a little bit more healing done. And say a few years back, I wouldn't have got through it without crying and got myself in a hell of a state. But I don't cry anymore because it don't hurt. It's gone.
Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt anymore.
No, it's gone. It's past. It's gone. It's a previous life. That little girl is now grown up.
Yeah.
And she's just loving life. She's living life.
And you've got a great life.
I have. I love it.
Long may it continue. Long may it continue.
It will. And I will get that 100-year telegram from whoever's in power.
Yeah.
And, no, I love my life now.
So listen, can we have a hug?
We can have a big hug.
I feel I want to just affirm life with you.
We can have a big hug.
It's been so... Let me hold the chair for you. Thank you very, very much. I always thank people. I don't always have.
We can have a big hug.
Thank you very, very much.
This is my trademark now.
Yeah. Well, I give good hugs too. They're important, aren't they?
Hug. One size fits all.
One size fits all.
Oh, it's been good to tell someone. It's really been good.
Thank you very much. And you'll be happy for people to hear that. You're all right with that?
Yeah. Put Celia's story out there
exactly,
and get it out. Yeah,
get it out.
More than happy. Perhaps I'm now living my childhood because I'm always mucking about and playing, and perhaps I'm still now living it.
Are you quite playful as a person now?
I'm always playing jokes on people.
Are you?
And they love it because they're harmless jokes and they wouldn't expect anything else.
Yeah.
So perhaps I'm now living my childhood in my adulthood, but I'm a sensible adult as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got friends now sometimes they'll take me to the beach and I'm like a kid with a new toy. I want to go down the water, dip my feet in, and I go to the beach regularly.
I'd like to thank Celia. I'd like to thank Colin for putting us together. And I'd like to thank you too.
It's nice for once to be heard.
Thanks for listening.